Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
LINKSGEMS is responsible for some of the best and most beautiful golf pictures in the world. From the city vibes of Liberty National to the mystique of Augusta National, LINKSGEMS has seemingly been to all of golf's best venues. And the man behind it all, believe it or not, a lawyer from Philadelphia. His name is Jon Cavalier. And Jon, first of all, thank you for joining us on the show tonight. We are so excited to talk to you about what you're doing. Okay, let's just jump right into it. How does a successful trial lawyer from Philadelphia become a golf course photographer?
Well, for one, I happen to be fortunate in that I work for a law firm that is a really great place to be. Jackson Lewis here. I'm a trial lawyer for them, and essentially what I do is I go around the country, I try cases, and I've become very good at turning a 5-day business trip into a 7-day trip with golf bookended on both sides. So it fits my lifestyle well. It works out well.
Maybe you just alluded a little bit to the next question I have for you then is, for each of these shoots that you do, how do you make it all work? How do you get in contact with the courses? What's their reaction? Do you have a team that you work with? Give us some insight behind the curtain.
So let me answer the first question. I don't have a team, but I do have a good friend who's named Tyler Petrovich, who basically runs all the backroom stuff for me. So the website, the prints we do, the calendar we put out every year, that is all completely beyond my grasp. So I'm thankful that he's around to help me with that. As far as how it works in different ways, really. You know, oftentimes the courses or the clubs will reach out to me and see if I'm interested in coming out either as part of a planned shoot or some other media day that they're doing. So when it happens at their request, things tend to be a little easier. Oftentimes, if I just happen to find myself in the neighborhood, I'll reach out to a club that I'm interested in seeing or that has some kind of architectural interest or intrigue for me and set it up through the club. And then oftentimes, if I'm just playing around at a place and I happen to have my camera with me, I'll take a couple snaps. It's worked out well.
It's very cool. Have you ever thought about this becoming a business, stepping away from the law?
So let me say first, no, I love what I do. I'm fortunate in that I found a career here as a lawyer that really suits me very well. So that's certainly going to remain the case. Beyond that, I tell people I already have a job. I really don't want two of them. One is enough. But we have been able to use this as a sort of a mechanism to springboard into some pretty nice charitable endeavors that we support. The money that this does generate, mostly through the sale of our annual calendar at the end of the year, enables us to donate some pretty nice sums to some charities that are close to our heart, mostly dog rescues and animal welfare organizations, things like that. So it's been really fulfilling to be able to use this photography sideline as a way to support those charities.
Jon, with the pictures that we showed at the beginning of this segment and those that are over your shoulders, it's clear that you have an eye for what you're looking at. You know what I'm talking about. There's an artistic bent here where you're able to see something and capture it with probably the same devices that any of us could use, but we may not be able to do it with your artist's perspective on it. Have you always had that, or did you just suddenly discover that your pictures were really, really good?
It's kind of you to say that. I've never had any formal training. I do think that there is something to be said for being able to take golf course pictures with a golfer's eye, right? I mean, I am at heart a golfer. And so I think it lends me an ability to sort of see the course through the eye of a player rather than, say a landscape photographer or just a general subject photographer might view it. So when I'm taking pictures of these courses, I'm always trying to capture something that would be important to the golfer and not just something that looks pretty or that you might see in a magazine or whatever. I'm trying to give the golfer a perspective that they might get while they're out on the course.
All right, you have to tell us the details of Augusta National. How did you get on Augusta National, if we may, and how did the pictures there come together?
So everybody always wants to know about that. Yeah. I'm going to keep the name of the gentleman who kindly invited me a secret, just to save his email and his phone from blowing up. But he's one of the kindest people I've ever encountered in golf. I mean, that's one of the great things about the sport that we play, right? We meet all kinds of people. We build all kinds of relationships. And so I actually met this person through, we did the book for Sleepy Hollow, which is my home club a while back. And he reached out and was interested in purchasing a copy of the book. I didn't know him at the time. I invited him to Sleepy Hollow to see the place. We really hit it off, and he was kind enough to invite me down for a couple days. And it's quite an experience. I mean, I tried cases for millions of dollars and stand up in front of juries and make arguments. I have never been as nervous as I was standing on the first tee at Augusta, getting ready to hit that first shot. I was certain that I was going to just cold shank it right into the pro chop. They were going to escort me off the golf course, and that was the last I'd ever see of it. So thankfully, that didn't happen.
I have a feeling that this probably happens to you a lot, but in reference to Augusta National, does it go without saying that when you're there in person, in your case with the camera in hand, that it's even more beautiful than you thought it would be?
So I went to the Masters a few times before I actually went down there to play, and I'd always thought that seeing the course would be enough, and that being there and watching the tournament would kind of sate that interest in trying to play Augusta. And it actually had the opposite effect. I mean, once I had seen it in person, I was just dying to get out there and hit some shots. The golf course, everybody knows the golf course. It's like a painting come to life. So there's no surprise there. What did surprise me though is, everybody expects that the place is going to be very stuffy and you're going to be walking on eggshells the entire time. I was shocked at how warm and welcoming everybody there was to just the guests of the members, including the staff, the caddies. The operation is just incredible. And so to get to see that on the ground as a guest of the club and of the members there is really, there's no other experience like it in my view. It's one of a kind.
It is clear, not only from the perspective of beauty, but also from the perspective of architecture, that you're mad about these different golf courses. And you mentioned your book. I know you put a book out called The Golf Courses of Seth Rayner. Could you tell us more about your efforts as an author as well?
Sure. So we really do like doing the books. We feel like there's sort of the way, everything in photography these days is digital. And so it's nice to do a book and lay down something that's actually concrete and that will, exist for in perpetuity or what have you. So the Seth Rayner book is a joint project between me, my good friend Michael Wolf, who is an author, a book collector, and a very frequent travel buddy of mine. And Jim Sitar, who runs Back Nine Publishing and who was kind enough to publish this book for us. The photos in the book are mine. I wrote a little bit of it. Jim also, as the publisher, wrote a little bit of it. And the bulk of the writing and the research was done by Michael Wolf, who, as I think people who have gotten the book will see, is an incredible writer. The goal in doing the book was to sort of give people who might be interested in golf course architecture, maybe from a novice perspective or these golden age courses, an easy avenue into what is otherwise often a really intimidating or deceivingly complex subject, right? I mean, everybody's an expert until they run up against somebody who knows more about it than they do. So we didn't want to do the kind of deep history book where, as Michael Wolf often says, we didn't care about the name of the horse that Seth Rayner rode when he surveyed national golf links. Or the name of his wife's third grade school teacher, right? I mean, we wanted to show people who had never been able to either see them for themselves or access them before what makes these courses special, both visually and in some short, clearly written blurbs about them. And so far the feedback has been really good. We're very impressed with how well it's done. The reviews have been great. And most importantly, I think people have reached out to us and said, hey, listen, I never knew what somebody was talking about when they mentioned a Redan or an Alps hole, and now having read your book, I've learned enough from it that I now want to know more than I did before. So that's always very great.
John, I'm going to borrow the phrase you just used, very impressed, because that's what we all are with your work. Thank you very much for sharing it with us and some of the secrets behind it. We wish you the very best.
Really my pleasure. Can't thank you enough.